Okay. It's that time of week, that time of day, whatever time of day it is. I actually don't know what time of day it is where you're watching, but all the same. Guys, are you ready? Let me show you something. What's happening here? We've got, look at this. There's things have changed. New things are happening. I actually, I've gone big and put in some lights. I got a light up here now, shining on me. We got a light over there, creating a little mood over there, which is good because my guest today, his lighting game is on point. So I had to live up to his lighting. Although he still has me beat. You'll see when he comes on. I can't compete with his vibes. But good to see everybody. How's everybody doing? Listen, let me tell you, here's a little inside baseball here, a little behind the scenes thing. I'm seeing comments, which is making me happy that it's working because I've changed it all up. It's not just the lights that are changing up here. I've got new streaming software that I'm running. And whenever that happens, it's like, you got to just hope that everything's going to actually work. We'll find out. Maybe there will be a colossal collapse of this stream about 20 minutes into it. But so far, everything seems to be going okay. And there's some advantages to this new stream software, which is things like this. Let me show you one of these. Here, I can, look at this. I can bring you guys up onto the stream now with comments, and I can answer those questions. So is the new glasses or the lighting? That's the same old glasses. In fact, these are the same glasses. If you go back to Music Making Month in 2011 and you look at those things, same glasses. Apparently, I'm a cheapskate when it comes to glasses. I'm just not buying those. Anyway, guys, so it's good to see everybody. Good to see everybody in the chat here. Michael's asking, is it Wirecast? No, it's not Wirecast. It's Ecamm Live that I've switched to. I was using Wirecast. It is not OBS Navi Live. No, but my guest today is an OBS fan, and he does all his streaming in it. So, but has everybody had a good week? I hope so. I hope everybody made some music. What did I do musically this week? Let me think. Don't know if I did anything particularly. I was all wrapped up in lighting. My whole world was lighting this week, and like, I put in, there's all sorts of weird stuff when you get into dealing with this. Like, see all the lamps behind me? Like, you've got to get special low watt bulbs. Like, in my room, they're really dim, but on camera, they still read hot. I've been dealing with all that stuff all week. But I hope everybody here has had a more creative, I guess, musical week than I have. And yeah, well, so here's the thing though. Let's get down to brass tacks. I'm excited to have my guest on because this is one of those guests. Sometimes I'll have a guest where, I'm kind of, I'm hanging out and kind of leading them to some degree through kind of their process and trying to draw out from them their knowledge and what they know, but helping them kind of share it with everybody. Our guest today, I could walk out of the room right now and just pass it over to him, and you guys would be in better hands. Maybe we should just give him the stream ongoing, because he is a stream veteran. He's been streaming for 6 years, I think, and making music for more. You guys probably know him. He's a fantastic member of the Reason community. He's someone who's actually worked with me in the past. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. So, guys, why don't you help me in welcoming our guest? We have got Protostar on the show today. Protostar, say hello. How are you doing?
How you guys doing? I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I am good. Good to see you. So, it's funny, we've worked together, but I don't know if we've ever, until yesterday, was that our first video call that we've actually...
I think we've had a voice call potentially for the last time when we worked, but yeah, I think this is the first like proper video
that was
call.
It's that sort of crossover era when like everything's went, because that was a couple years ago. So I was like, yeah, people still made voice calls. Now, like when I call people, I just video call them now, which is like used to feel weird, but now it's a regular. I guess Zoom has sort of made that the standard in life, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, how are
for
you
sure.
doing? It's good to see you. I'm glad you could join us on the stream.
Yeah, I'm
You
glad to be on. I've been waiting to join one of these. I've been looking at them like, oh, this is really cool. And I've been using Reason for like since I started, basically. So yeah, it's about time that it happened, I guess.
I don't know, people may not know you actually played a role in one of the tutorials that I did a few years ago. I was making tutorials pretty much on the regular, and so I was doing various genres, liquid drum and bass, and we were doing things with trap and trip hop and stuff. And then one of the tutorials I did was a 2-part tutorial series called 808 basses and how to make 808 basses. And the first one, the more basic one, I put together that tutorial. And then we wanted to give people an advanced 808 bass tutorial. And when it came to that, we're like, oh, we gotta reach out to Protostar, because that's sort of right in your wheelhouse of making some of these like just really great sounding basses,
That was actually my first time synthesizing an 808, because I never really made like, trap or anything. So that was like the first time I synthesized it. But I mean, I understood the concept of it, and it turned out well. So,
but it's it's like the cousin of, you make aggressive basses all the time in a different genre, but that definitely is sort of it's like you said, the concepts, probably there's a lot of overlap there in the way that you approach them. But we knew when we asked you to make us a patch that we could use in the tutorial, we knew we wanted it to be an advanced tutorial, and we knew it would be advanced if it came from you. And my God, was it?
Yeah, we had to strip it back quite a bit to actually make it work. But like the tutorial you did was just fantastic. Like, because that's the thing, it's like really hard to do that kind of advanced like teaching, but then like have it so that it's digestible in a sense. So the way, like, I always just love your animation style of like, like stripping things down, like when you key things out and like show specific elements, is just fantastic the way it was done. So yeah, it was a really well done tutorial. I was glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was fun. I mean, I normally, for a lot of those tutorials, especially at the time, I would make the example and then I would write the tutorial, and so it was usually easy for me to know kind of what to show and how to show it. That was like actually a fun piece of detective work. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think that was the one where I broke down the signal flow inside Thor, right? Is that the one where I pull away all the panels and then show it building? Yeah, that was that was something I'd been meaning to do for a while, and your patch gave me the perfect, inroads into like, okay, let me try and show people how Thor works, which is certainly, I think Thor was very much your go-to for a long time, right? That was...
I think honestly it was actually Maelstrom. It's just that Thor gave me more control over like doing stuff in like in an 808 that I wanted, because it was more of like a wavetable synth. So I felt like for that application, Thor was going to be a bit better.
Right.
But Maelstrom has actually probably been my more go-to synth, like back when I was like just using only stock instruments.
Gotcha.
And even like a lot of basses nowadays still have like Maelstrom in its core.
So we should probably talk about that. I mean, you've been a Reason user for, it must be 10 years or more, right?
When I was doing music tech in university, so I'm 27 now, and it was when I was like 17, so I guess 10 years.
Gotcha.
Maybe a slight bit more, but I think around 10 years is a safe bet. Because back when I started school, so when we're in school, A level is the kind of, for the Americans, A level is the extra curriculum stuff you do like 2 years after school before you go to university.
Right.
Some people just go to college, but you can do A level and then you get the stuff you need to go to uni in the UK. So for A level, I did, because I wanted to do engineering, so I've got an engineering degree, mechanical engineering. I did maths, physics, and then I did product design. So it's like, working with like designing products and stuff.
Yep.
And then I had a fourth one that I could choose whatever I want. So I was like, I want to do something musical because, I love music. I've been doing music stuff my whole life, been playing guitar because I've got some guitars hung up there.
Yep.
And then so I just did music tech, and then I ended up falling in love with it. Like from the get-go, just learning about like, DAWs and stuff. We started off with Cubase for doing live tracking, and then Reason, because we were on Reason 4 back then.
Yeah, I was gonna say live tracking audio wasn't even in Reason at that time.
You could only put audio in an NXT or NN19.
Right.
And like, you know, to play a sample, you'd have to play it from the start of the MIDI clip and play it all the way through,
Right.
to
This
get
is
to the point that you want.
I knew people that did this two different ways. They used to they either would put like a whole track's vocal and they'd trigger it like one long note at bar one. And yeah, so then you get to this thing where it's like, oh, I want to work on the chorus. Okay, well, if I want to work on the third chorus, I've got to listen from bar one all the way till I get to the third chorus, hear if the change I made is nice, and then start over. And so then other people got into this thing where they would, using Recycle, they actually would slice a track up into 1 bar chunks and then move that over to Reason as this you know, and but it was like, you know, we're talking caveman times. I mean, like this is before.
we specifically only use Reason for doing synthesis stuff and then Cubase for doing live stuff. It wasn't like really like mixed together. Also, I see Stefan asked me what's with the shark. This is Blåhaj from IKEA. Just, you know, sitting there, he's having fun.
Blåhaj.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hi. So high is Swedish for shark. So blue shark. That is literal translation.
Mm-hmm.
When I was learning Swedish, I don't think I can even remember this joke. I wrote. This is the thing when you're learning a language. It's particular. You feel like you've made extra achievements when you can make a pun in that language, or you write a joke and it's in that language. You feel like, oh, I'm really starting to understand this language. And I had a joke. I can't remember how it went, so the story's gonna be totally dumb, but it involved a shark saying "hi fish," which is Swedish for hi, but for shark. Yeah, but I was all excited about it. I remember telling someone, they were like, "But wait, why would a shark say shark to a fish?" Because in Swedish it actually makes less sense than in English. It was like a weird messed up hybrid thing.
The whole thing about him is that in my friend group we have a thing where like it just became a thing that everyone had or got one. Like I got this one for a Secret Santa or after a Secret Santa. I got my friend one for a Secret Santa. They're Americans, so they go Blahaj, like, because, you know, it's like the A but with the accent on it.
Oh man, but yeah, you have. I gotta say, you may be winning the award for vibiest stream guest so far. I mean, you've got. Which
I can put it on like reactive light as well, like when we're talking, but that would be very off-putting. Yeah,
we might have to give out one of those epilepsy warnings and stuff for people, right? Oh, there you go. Oh man.
Yeah, so if we talk into it now, we got the vibey stream going. Oh yeah.
How do you not just live your life at all times with that? I imagine that gets old pretty quick.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
We should plug you, and just for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, one of the reasons your whole setup here is so on point is because you actually do your own stream. I can see the Twitch pillow behind you.
Oh, yeah.
So you're there it is. My head's blocking you, but you are you're on Twitch on the regular. I mean, is it weekly? Or?
I mean, lately I've been not streaming as much. Like I've been kind of like I've styled it back just because I've preferred to go more back to like the streaming and private thing. But like generally I'll DJ stream like with my Pioneer setup.
Right.
Or, sometimes I'll do some production or just gaming and stuff. But yeah, the best way to like keep in contact with all that kind of stuff like is either just following on Twitch and putting the notifications on, or actually probably the best way is my Discord, where we have production channels and stuff as well. We have a channel where like we post people can put samples that they've made or like patches and stuff. And we've also got a channel, or the same channel, where I'll ping people for like free VSTs that I find online, like deals and stuff. So like, for example, you know, like Reason oftentimes will put out like a free VST or a rack extension, and I'll just like, you know, ping in there and then people can grab it.
Gotcha. For people not familiar with Discord, you want to give people a quick rundown on it?
It's just like, it's just kind of like Skype, but in a big group, like a community kind of thing. It's like a mixture of like TeamSpeak, if you use the TeamSpeak, if you're from that kind of side. I'm sure most people here will know what Discord is. Like, it's just for the people who aren't familiar with the internet stuff. So yeah, it's just kind of like, I guess, like a big Skype group chat kind of thing with different channels for specific things.
Gotcha.
It's the best way to keep in touch with like your favorite creators and stuff if they've got their own Discords. Pretty much everyone that's, you know, on the internet will have their own.
It is it in terms of its interactivity. I know. I mean, you got started on Twitch, so you moved kind of over from Twitch to Discord, then, right?
Well, Discord is not a replacement for Twitch. It's just Discord is like a community basically where
I
it's more
only
like
mean
text and voice. Yeah.
Sure, but I only mean in terms of the interactive side, sort of the feeling, this sort of modern era where.
Yeah, I mean, I think they go hand in hand. Yeah, because like it's a good way to notify people, and also it's a good way to have conversations outside of doing streaming. So like so you don't have to wait until only on the time when you're streaming, because like, for example, if you're doing a production stream, there's only so much you can interact, I guess, and talk and do stuff at the same time. Like,
right.
It's a very hard task to do, like talking to chat, interacting, and producing something good at the same time, or doing that kind of stuff. So it's a nice way to like kind of change the load, like put the load off the stream rather than like always having everything on the stream.
Sure. It's amazing to me. I mean, you came up as a musician in this era when, I mean, you're already post Twitter, post sort of the social media boom and stuff like that. And so to an artist of your era, all of this stuff is taken for granted, that you have these direct relationships with fans. But it's so, if you just go to the decade before, the idea that you would be, I got to think of an artist from that decade. I'm going to draw a blank now. I'll go with I'm trying to think who's I'm thinking of terrible naughties like rock bands like Lit for some reason. But anyway, let's say I'll use Lit. So let's say you're a fan of Lit, but you never would have had the thought that you would, I'm going to send them a message, or I'm going to wait to see what they say today and interact with them, and I'm going to it's such a sort of more. It's a deeper connection, I imagine, and maybe that's got pluses and minuses. Do you ever have to find the balance of separating and disconnecting from people? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, that's where like, your own rules and stuff in those kind of realms will come into play. A lot of people will say like, like have rules like saying like, just don't ping me like unnecessarily, like, for just random stuff. But it depends on how much you want to engage, really. Like, you could be the kind of person who runs your own community and doesn't like interact at all, and it just kind of does things from the like in the back, and like has your moderators or whatever take care of everything,
right?
Or you can have a very hands-on approach, which I usually like to have, and I feel like it's usually better. It creates a more engaged community usually.
Sure.
If you're being a creator and you're trying to create that community, then that's the best way to go about it, I feel.
Gotcha. A question came in.
It's definitely cool.
A question came in on the chat asking if you're on the Reason Talk forum. Do you ever make your way over to the Reason Talk forums?
I do have an account. I just don't really. I don't really post or look, just because I don't know. I've never really been into forums too much. I don't know why.
It's it is its own sort of thing. I mean, for one thing, just from a sort of time and creativity thing, it's like time spent on a forum can be time not making music. And so if you're,
that's the thing. It's like if I have the free time to do music, I'm usually wanting to make music rather than talking about it a lot of the time. And then the time I'm not making music, I'm spending like with friends or girlfriend or just like recreationally, or doing other like admin stuff for like that the music needs, like sorting out other stuff like that.
Right. That's
because it's not just creative.
If only it were, right? If the Protostar team was handling everything else and you could just worry about the creative. But we should. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about. So as you came out of university and you had gotten into the music tech side of things, what was the transition into actually producing full time? That kind of, how did that happen for you?
Well, I mean, so during uni, I started doing production stuff, and I got in contact with Monstercat through, actually, I was doing like YouTube on the side, like some Minecraft stuff. And like that was actually paying like a decent amount to me, because I had a few videos like go like kind of viral almost, like they had like 1.5 mil each or something. And that like helped like kind of pad my wallet a bit while I was doing uni, just to kind of help me get by and stuff. And then so I was in contact with Monstercat through that, because they used to have like a Monstercat gaming thing. And so I was with them on that, and then I had contact with them through that. And so then when I started doing music stuff, I sent it through to them, and then like, you know, they didn't like it at first, and then I just kept trying, like I just improved and just kept working, and then like I ended up working with them. And
So wait, you were
then,
sending them sort of, it was to some degree
I sent them a
unsolicited?
demo. No. Well, I just like I had a contact through them. So my friend, like the friend who was on Monster Cat Gaming, I got him to forward one of my tracks to them, and then they said, "Oh, this is cool." Like, you know, not really like feeling it, but thanks for sending. Like, send us something in future, please.
Gotcha.
So, you know, that's what I did. And then yeah, so that's how it kind of started. And from then, like Monster Cat, especially back then, like iTunes was popping off. Like that was like the main kind of thing. And like every time they did like an album sale, like so they do these albums every like several months or every month or so, and those would sell on like top of the charts on iTunes every time. So that really helped like me just like immediately after I came out of uni just to start doing that. Because I started like as I was like finishing up my degree, I was like realizing that I didn't really want to do engineering that much. Like I actually kind of wanted to just go with music, because like I've always done music in my life and I've always been super passionate about it. And like it's just something that now, especially, like I realize that like, you know, no matter what, I'm always gonna try to, even if like, for example, like my career like completely tanks and disappears, I'm always going to try to find a job in music, whether that's going to be like, you know, being an engineer, like
Right.
sound engineer or something, or this or that. I'm always going to work in that field, I feel.
I think that's been true. I recognize that in the video work that I have done in my life, has like, it wasn't by mistake that as I got into doing video work, which wasn't sort of, I mean, I was a musician first, a videographer second. They're two passions I hold now, both in my life. But it wasn't by mistake that when I started doing video work, it was working with bands and making documentaries and doing music videos and stuff where it was like, I wasn't doing just, you know, corporate training videos or even just dramatic, you know, any sort of dramatic movie making that was unmusic related. You know, I think there's something in us that when you have that music, whatever that little bug is in you that just, you know, makes you passionate about making music, that does, it factors into every aspect of your life for sure. So that totally makes sense. But so you got hooked up with Monster Cat early on, and then that's been a really good relationship over the years for you, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be where I am today without them, really. Like they've given me my career basically, and I'm really thankful for it. And I'm glad that they still want to work together and keep going forward, and like that we're, you know, still growing. And yeah, it's exciting.
Right. I'm seeing a comment here. Ivan is saying that Apple's having their live stream today. Yeah, guys, listen, it's the iPhone 12. They're coming out with the iPhone 12. You can stay with us. You don't need to go tune into that. You can watch the replay. Reload in an hour. You'll see it. iPhone 12. There you go. But if you want to go watch, we won't hold it against you. But so, and
you want me to also, I can drop the Discord in the chat before, like.
Oh yeah, I saw you posted it in our chat. You want to, yeah, throw it in the main chat, and I'll put it up on screen when you do, and then people will know how to kind of get over there. That's great.
So yeah, if you're a producer or or anything, like I don't know, and I think YouTube doesn't actually like embed links for some reason.
Oh, is it not letting you embed the link?
Apparently not.
Okay, hang on, wait. I'll do it on my end. Hang on. I'm going to. Can I copy this? Let's see here. This is a slightly janky process. Let me see. I'm gonna go over here, add a comment. I think it will let me as the sort of admin do that. So there we go. It should show up now in the chat.
Yeah, it's showing up here. It doesn't. It's not clickable. So I guess if anyone wants to hop in, just like select it and then like
not a hard one to remember.
Yeah. But there you go. So if you want some free samples and stuff, plugins, just want to talk about Reason stuff, because I love Reason. I want more Reason users in there as well. We've got like a thing where you can click on certain DAW roles to show what you want, and I want the Reason number to go up because it's currently getting like, you know, it's like probably like the second or third. I want to have that Reason represent, because it's so funny. Like whenever I come across new producers that use Reason, and everyone's always usually shocked. I think like when they're like they're like, "What software do you use?" And I'm like, I use Reason. They're like, "Oh wow!" Like you know, I don't really get to talk to many people.
It's funny. This is a thing that I see a lot of times that you get that. It's like people are collectively, how do I describe it? I've seen this with other DAWs too, that people think that their DAW that they use is sort of has this underdog status you see with FL and Bitwig and all these guys, and then you meet someone, oh, you use Bitwig too, oh my god, or you use FL, and it's a weird sort of, I don't know what that is, this like collective, it's sort of a throwback to the old DAW wars, which was really rooted around this anxiety of like, have I chosen the right DAW? Like I want to swim with the tide, and I want to make sure. And so, but everyone,
I guess every DAW has its own like benefits and downsides. Like there's no perfect DAW, I don't think.
Well, I think that's why
limitations can breed creativity, though. Like,
absolutely.
that's the thing, that I like. I don't like having too many options a lot of the time. So I don't have too many VSTs or too many rack extensions or too many samples. I need to actually probably like thin down my sample library a bit. But I think that's the thing. It's just, I guess it's just working with whatever you're comfortable with.
Absolutely. And that's what, when we made the Reason Rack plugin, that's the philosophy behind it, is that, we make Reason standalone. We like Reason standalone. We put in the features we think will help you make music. But if you make music in another DAW for any number of reasons, we want you to be able to bring Reason with you, but and the rack with you. So I think you're right. And I think that's, if you even go back, Rewire was the same philosophy, was that, it's like, we want these things to play together. It's always been a little bit on the user side, there's this DAW war concept. On the manufacturer side or the developer side, I think everybody always wants their stuff to play with everything else in this wonderful kind of garden of creative options that people have, and it's true of plugins and all that stuff. So
sure.
But so speaking of plugins, I know, so you're a Reason standalone user, but you've very much embraced in Reason 9.5 when we brought in VST plugins, that really did open up the options of what you use. Sure. Is that right? At
first, I didn't really like use too many VSTs like when it first came in, because I was just so used to not like, my life was just completely rack extension and stock stuff. So I think in terms of my library of like what I've made, I think everything up until my song called Echoes of the Past was done solely like with rack extensions and stock, and then everything after that was either with VST. I think everything after that was with some VST and to a varying degree. Nowadays I use a lot of VSTs. I still use a lot of stock stuff. Like there's a lot of like stock Reason plugins or like rack extensions that I can't live without. My personal favorite is Audiomatic. Like I love that thing. It's so good. Like I still go by that saying, like it's Instagram for audio. It really is really good.
It is. I have to say, when I first saw it, I thought like, oh, that's cool. That's cute. But it really has become so central to so many people's workflow. Even just like that elusive kind of like coloration, just kind of mess it up just a little bit so that it isn't quite so pure. It's I totally know what you mean. It's
and I think the main thing for me is like, even if I use like a lot of VSTs and stuff, I just still love Reason for its flow and like workflow, and also just like the ability to like be as simple as you want or as complex as you want. So if I just want to drag some stuff in and then have it root up and have a simple chain, it's fine. It'll do it quickly. But if I want to go in and do advanced stuff, like for example when I showed you my sidechaining setup, like that kind of stuff, I can, because it's like easy to do, and because I've like got the experience of how the inner routing works like quite well, then I can easily just like do that kind of stuff, and maybe even like make new kind of patches like that. Have for example one VST even talk to another with CV, have like an LFO from another, like a Reason default device affect a VST, and like all those kind of crazy things that you can do it in other things, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just easy to do in Reason, I feel.
You are you self-taught in terms of the CV routing and all the stuff that you do in Reason?
I'd say probably like half. Like I don't really look up tutorials anymore. I used to, like, when I started, like the main thing I remember when I started like producing like on my own, there was actually the 52 Reason and record tips done by you guys. Who was it that recorded that series?
It was James Bernard that did those.
Yeah, Bernard. Yeah.
Shout out to James.
That series, if you're starting producing and you just want to like learn Reason inside out, just watch that series, like all 52 videos. I know it sounds kind of daunting, 52 videos, but it was like one video a week. So I watched like, maybe a couple a day or like a bunch a day, and that like just covered pretty much everything I needed to know. It's like fantastic. Like that series is really, really good at like covering that. I kind of want like a 2020 revamp or 2021 revamp of that, like a 52
right
52 tips in Reason 11.
That would be good. I mean, there's obviously a lot of stuff that has come in, and then also one of the things that has sort of it can be confusing if you came into the Reason world after that era. I've had comments pop up on YouTube where people go, what are they what is this record they're talking about? And you have to go it was another app. Now it's all part of Reason. It used to be two apps, and it's kind of a confusing thing. So if people watching can kind of handle that at times in those videos they'll say, in record I'll go and you just swap in your brain record for Reason. And
talking about adding whole programs into Reason, I really want recycle into Reason, and I know that a lot of people want that as well. I want like to get a hashtag started to get recycle into Reason. Because it's just because I work with breaks a lot, and having to like open up another program, then to like slice it up and then back into Reason is just a bit of a killer in my workflow. Yeah.
Now the slicing that has been added to Reason, is that sort of that's not as advanced as well?
It's not as comprehensive. No.
Gotcha.
That's like big on my wish list to have recycle integrated into Reason.
Well, you can know that the guys that make those decisions are probably watching this stream right now. So message is delivered.
Please. and sequence of folders. Oh, that would be the holy grail, because that's the one thing. It's like when I look at my project, it's so messy. Like I can't bear it. Like I hate showing people, because I know where everything is. It's like having a messy room. Like you go in and like you're showing someone. You're like, I know where everything is. Sorry for the mess. Like this is over here. This is over here. The keys are over here, like a week-old sandwich in this corner, like like that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, right. Well, speaking of, I mean, your sessions are really big. I was wondering, maybe we should dive in a little bit to Reason for a second, because you mentioned this thing. You showed me this thing yesterday. You said, I've figured out the perfect sidechain, and thought maybe could we start maybe by showing people what your method of sidechain is? Sure. It is guy, I'll just say this right now, while Protostar gets
it's my holy grail of sidechain. Yeah,
while he gets the setup, let me just tell you guys, strap in. Protostar moves fast, and he is advanced, and I'm gonna be holding the reins, and whoa boy, and make sure that we get everybody kind of checking this stuff out. He's got it's pretty intense. I mean, for a sidechain. So what I do for a sidechain is I whack a synchronous on, I choose the pumping presets, and I go done. But this is something else entirely. Let's take a look here at it.
Here we go. You can see this?
I'm pulling it up now. Okay. So walk us through this. What is going on here?
Okay, so actually, like a couple months ago, I made a tweet that kind of popped off about sidechain. Like it was like a very jokey tweet, but it was like also on a similar. It was also like semi-serious, but I said like it was something like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but please stop sidechaining with the compressor. And like a lot of people were like, yeah, like I love using wave shape, like volume shaping for compression or for sidechaining. A lot of people were like, oh, don't tell me what to do. And it was just like, obviously it was a polarizing tweet. It was designed to be polarizing.
Yeah,
it worked very well. It got me a bit of flack from like certain like other producers like that don't know me or whatever, and like they quote tweeted it being like, oh, like like this is silly, don't say not what to do. And I was just like, it's just like
it's what's crazy to me about it is that it's it's sidechaining is a technique born out of compression. So it's instantly provocative to say that, but it's like stop flying with a plane. It's like, wait, what? That's what you do.
It's just from like years of kind of playing around with different sidechain methods, compression sidechaining is very, very useful for
Yeah.
certain styles. It's like, I feel like compression sidechaining is more kind of nitty gritty and kind of more rough around the edges a lot of the time. Because the thing is with, let me get paint up. I can do a little kind of show of things. So say like when you're doing compression with the compressor, and if you, for example, use your kick drum to compress, right? So you've got your kick drum sample here. When you're running that through the compressor, you're not only fighting against like the transient length, you're also fighting against the whole sample length going into the compressor to trigger it, okay? Whereas, you know, a lot of the time when you say to use the sidechain to compress, people will say use a click, right? So you're just using a sample and then it's immediately gone.
Oh, right.
So when you're using the compressor, you've got like the attack time, and then you've got like the sustain, you'll have like the release after it goes down past the threshold, right? So you're fighting against all of that information. So you've got to dial in the release, you've got to dial in the attack, you've got to dial in the sample length, you've got to dial in the sample volume, you've got to dial in like so many different things, the threshold, the ratio.
Right.
Whereas
And
when you're doing
one change,
volume shaping, yeah, exactly. One change can drastically affect it.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing like volume shaping, you know, for example, here, let's just have a look here. So if you're doing volume shaping, let me actually find a compression, a sidechain patch. Okay, here. So when you're just doing sidechain like this, all you've got is just this. And all you have to do is just change that and it's done, you know?
What you've really done is you've gotten to the heart of what modern sidechaining is, you know? I mean, sidechaining as we call it, you know, like it has its roots in like radio, like a radio DJ starts talking and the music ducks down underneath, like that's sidechaining, right? But at the heart of what that is volume automation. It's just on the fly volume automation in an era that was a hardware based era. And so looking at that curve, what you've done really is you've just cut out the middleman entirely and just said, I know the shape I want the volume automation to be, so I'll just draw it.
And now, so not only, because like usually what you'll do with something like this is you'll have like, you know, you'll have the kick and then you'll have a side chain for the snare here. So you'll just do like the pattern for the snare, right? And then you'll do the kick again, like over here, and you'll just do that. And then it will loop like a LFO. Like it will just like
as like a one bar kind of thing, you mean?
Yeah, that's usually what people will do with sidechaining like this. But the way I do it, so like it's like a kind of hybrid of sidechain. It's like the benefit of like doing compression sidechain is that you have like a trigger note, like a ghost trigger or like the trigger. So if I find the trigger for the sidechain here, so this is my sidechain trigger down here. This is the kick and this is the snare. Okay. And this is actually, instead of it being a sample, so I don't have to control or worry about the length of the sample, that's a CV trigger. So this is literally just a MIDI note that's triggering this RPG8, and then this is getting split into CV here. So if I press K to get rid of all the other cables, so you can see it's just duplicating, and then you've got all of these duplicated sidechain signals ready to go.
Okay, wait, now hang on. I'm gonna pump the brakes here. We're gonna go through this a little slower. You've got two different MIDI notes in the sequencer. They're just straight up MIDI notes.
Yeah.
Those MIDI notes are going to a combinator. That combinator has an RPG8 in it. The RPG8, if people don't know, it's not just an arpeggiator. It does effectively MIDI to CV conversion, and that's how you're using that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I'm using it.
So
someone said, "Does Protostar have the sidechain as a combinator?" I can drop it in my Discord if you guys want to drop the link. I'll drop it in. I'll put it in my Discord in the production channel after the stream because I don't actually have it up anywhere. I haven't really actually. This is the first time I'm showing this on video. Like I haven't done a tutorial about this. I haven't done like a tweet about this or anything. I've shown this maybe in a few tutoring sessions that I've done privately, but yeah, this is like a system that I've developed like over years of like kind of trying to fine tune what I want myself. Obviously, it might not be, you know, some people might want to have a slightly different experience, but for me personally, like this is the perfect way for sidechain because on my software, so here I have the master sidechain, which is this one thing. This is where I put the note. And then I have the sidechain shaperbox combinator, which you could probably put any kind of volume shaping LFO. I know there's one rack extension one as well.
I think pump is the one that people like.
There's pump, and then I think I've got Reasonista's reaction sidechain.
Oh yeah, okay, right. That's right.
Yeah. So all it does, so basically, why I've got two notes is as well. So like the C, so here it's on the C. I'm pretty sure on this kick drum here. So yeah, this is on the C. and we got the D for the snare. The reason for that is because we're also, so the RPGA is kicking out gate CV and the note CV. So we're able to tell the other combinators in the chain, so the sidechain ones, what note is being played. And then in the sidechain, so if I drop, or if I could go find, let's follow this yellow wire here. So this is one of the sidechains. In the programmer for this combinator, I've got here, you see that the top VST only responds to C3 and the bottom one only responds to D.
Yeah.
And that way, we're only sending C to this one and D to this one. So we're getting the snare trigger working on this one, and then we're getting the kick trigger on this one. And
so every time it gets that note,
shapes.
It's just like it's an envelope trigger. So every time it receives that note, it's going to play that volume envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you can do this technically all in one instance of Shaperbox. Like you've got this MIDI switch here. So if I, for example, if I download this here.
Offhand, is Shaperbox, is that a free VST or is that a?
Shaperbox itself is, I think. I don't know. Volume Shaper is pretty cheap. It's very cheap.
Okay. I'm just thinking if people download this off Discord, they might.
But you could like, honestly, you could just swap this out with whatever rack extension, whatever, and make your own patch. Like, because it's a two-step thing. The sidechain master patch is completely stock plugins. And then in the sidechain Shaperbox one, like this one, the sidechain unit itself, you could just swap in 2 sidechain units yourself, because all it is it's just in sequence, right? In this, it's just the combinator goes into the Shaperbox, into this one, and then out, and then that's all it is. So yeah, like I said, you can do this technically in one unit here. So for example, if I hit this button here, and then if I change up this, and then download here, then if I have my MIDI trigger on, and then you make sure that Reason is inputting that, and then I go to the right octave. So now if I go like this, that's going to be triggering that one. Wait, which octave am I in?
Do we see it? I'm going to zoom in here for you. Do we see it triggering?
Let's see. Oh, I know why. It's because I've got the I technically can't change it because it's only allowing to be registered by C.
Oh, sure.
So I won't be able to actually do that. But yeah, you can switch. Basically, you can on the fly switch. You see like that. But the downside of doing that is that if, for example, this wave isn't fully finished, by the time you want to re-trigger the next one, you're going to get a weird click sometimes, or you're going to get like, it's just going to cut the sidechain short.
It's less elegant.
Like
Yeah.
Way less elegant. But yeah, this is like my kind of holy grail of sidechain, because the benefit of this also is like, especially for when you want to do like bouncing out stems, all you have to do, and if you want to just get rid of like the sidechain, all you have to do is just mute the sidechain input channel, and it's done. Like no other like messing around. You don't have to disable any compression, or you don't have to like go and find 20 different like sidechain like triggering channels. You don't have to do this. You can do this like method with compression sidechaining as well. Like you can do pretty much the same thing. You just will have a bit more rough around the edges experience and a bit less control. But for certain styles, like, you know, trap and even like dubstep and stuff, like all that kind of stuff, you might prefer compression sidechaining. Like do what's best for you. I just like it like this because I do drum and bass, so everything has to be extremely tight and extremely precise.
I mean, this is a thing I think is actually very central to your style and your entire aesthetic, is that I feel like you kind of live in the 2% of like, there's a lot of things that will get you 98% of the way there, and then you're always interested in what do I need to do to make it just that 2% more perfect. And oftentimes that there's an exponential ramp up, both in complexity and control and sometimes tools and routing and things like that to get you that little bit further. But that is, and you're right, it's probably an outcropping of the genre that you work in.
It's all about finding what you're comfortable with, and like what suits you the best, and what suits your needs the best, really.
But you don't seem like the kind of guy that's like that's good enough. Like that thought doesn't cross your mind in music making.
Yeah, I mean, like I have the ethos. If there's something in my head in a song that I'm like that I can feel is itching and being like, something isn't right. I say to myself, like, just trust that instinct and just change it, no matter, even if it's like annoying, like to go work on it or like try change something. Pretty much like 9 times out of 10 when I have followed my instinct and just trusted my feeling on it and changed it, it's turned out better, or like I preferred it better.
Right. So is it easy enough to hear this in action?
Oh yeah. So let me, have you got the volume down on your side?
Oh, no. Should I be preparing for a...
Yes. I'm going to put a gain on the output.
I'm going to pull the volume down here.
I'm putting it at -15. So this is a remix I did for a friend called Essinger. It's After Dark, my remix. So this is like a synthwave crossed into drum and bass, because the original was very synthwave.
Okay.
Might be able to even pull up the original to hear what it sounds like, but yeah. So we'll just have a little playthrough here.
Yeah, cool.
So this is the main bass patch that's in the drop, or one of them. Done in Faceplant. It's actually, you can actually get this patch. It's in Faceplant. I did it with Kilohertz. It's in the factory.
Oh, cool.
Sound bank. So all the rate wobbling, we'll get into that later, but it's all this automation here. We'll talk about that later because it's a bit complicated.
Okay, cool. I get scared when you say it's a bit complicated. I get scared.
And then we can have a look where the sidechain stuff
Cool.
is. You can see it triggering. Where is the, yeah. So you can watch the ins here and the notes, like when the kick and snares happen.
Oh, great.
And then we're getting here towards the other bass that we were talking about just then.
Okay.
So there we go. That's pretty much the track. Then you got the breakdown, second drop. Second drop's pretty much the same, just with the change in the sequencing.
I just got a message. I got a message from Stefan, in our little side chat when we do the stream. He says, "Is this what my parents feel like when they watch me do something on the computer?" Such a perfect summation of how it does feel. Yeah, that is. Now I got to say, so that section where you said, you'll hear the or see the MIDI notes firing off there. There is a very refined. I mean, I'm trying to think the right word for it, but like, it is a. If you're casually listening, it just sounds like, oh, that's a cool line. But if you are focusing in on the quality of that sidechaining, it is a very controlled. I can totally see why you're excited by this.
Yeah, my kind of ethos on, because like you've got kind of two ways, like putting it lightly, two ways of using sidechain. Either creatively, where you can really like hear it, like for example, good example is house music. You got that pumping, and sometimes you got stuff like like a pre. Sidechain, so like you want it to like dip the sound out before the kick happens. That can be a cool kind of thing, interesting. And you've got those kind of creative stuff, and then there's more utility sidechain where you don't want the user or the listener to be able to hear that you are sidechaining, that it swaps out insanely perfectly with the kick and snare. So there's that.
Right.
I'm just going to plug in my sub back real quick so I can feel the low end when I'm talking about that kind of stuff.
Oh, I was going to ask you actually about this. I've seen you talk about this. You want to tell people quickly while you put this on?
Oh, yeah.
You actually, this is it's like a haptic.
Disclaimer, because I am partnered with them now. I used to not be. When I bought mine, I wasn't partnered with them. But then like as I've gone on, like, and I started like working with a bit more. So yeah, I love it just because I'm a primarily headphone user, so using a sub wouldn't work with me. And when you use an actual sub, you have to have a good room for it, otherwise you're going to end up with weird standing waves and stuff anyway.
Right.
But it's just that feeling of having the raw bass contact on your back, and it feels like it literally is like the closest analog I can think of to a live environment. It's such a good tool to be able to feel what like a song is going to feel like in the club on the low end, because if you haven't been to a live show where you've got like huge PAs and stuff, you don't really know what it's like to have that kind of rumbling in your chest, and it's like the closest analog to that.
And so it's just a little it's a little like backpack sort of thing that
so it's just
goes
like
around
a
here.
little thing on the chair.
Oh, it goes on the chair. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it vibrates. There is a backpack one as well, but I prefer the sit one. I'm just gonna let my cat out real quick. She just woke up and
perfect, no problem. I'll just check in on the chat here for a second. Yes, Night Shift, a sub pack. I think that is what it's called. There's some videos on Protostar's channel of that you can check out where he's showing it to you. But yes, so cool. Okay, well let's dig in a little more. You were saying, well, should we? Oh, where to go? Where to go? So much going on here. Should we look at that bass sound that?
This one here.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of the sidechain with one easy step. So all that ambience is on top of it as well, actually.
I'll do a little gain riding here. So all that ambience, you mean all that high end stuff I'm hearing, kind of like voices or whatever?
That's all on. I'm pretty sure that's just with this here. If I disable that, yeah. So this is just the raw bass sound.
That is so dirty.
So I guess we could talk about the concept of this bass and kind of.
Yeah, I'd love people to understand what you're doing there, because it's just so raw sounding, but
yeah. So I'm gonna probably do like a bit of a kind of back and forth on this in terms of like showing like what it is in the patch form, and then just kind of explaining it in Paint or something, because it's actually quite a easy way to explain it. So this patch, all it is, it's one of my favorite kind of bass designs. Actually, it's just a phase oscillation bass. So what that means is that all I've got in this patch are 2 sine waves and a noise oscillator. That's all it is. And what happens is, for example, if you guys know if you tune a guitar, so if you have 2 sine waves like this, and they're like,
I actually have a guitar within arm's reach.
So they're both the same frequency, right? You're going to have them perfectly in sync and perfectly in phase. But when you're tuning a guitar, for example, and you have 2 notes and they're slightly out, you're going to get this kind of phase wobbling sound. It's going to sound like
I'll demonstrate for people here. So I've got 2 notes here.
Yeah, so start tuning it. Yeah.
If I go here, can I do this? Hang on. What do I do? I've never tried to move the tuner. Well, here, I'm going to just move it, and then we'll. Okay, so now I'm 1 slightly out.
Yeah, and if you go closer, like just slowly closer, you can like if you can hold the note while you're tuning, so you can hear the speed.
I'll do it with harmonics. If I do it with harmonics, I can.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, hang on. Hang on. It's my noise gates cutting it off.
Oh.
Okay,
I could probably pull mine out, but I'm gonna put the gain up a bit on.
But yeah, so
there's like as well, but
there is
because they said
the quality of the notes start to beat against each other.
So I could actually show that like just real quickly. I'll just quickly just pull in and then just do two sine waves, or like So I could even just do it like by holding 2 different notes, right? Like that kind of wobble sound there.
There you go. There you hear it. Yeah.
So there you go. So the whole concept of the bass is, for example, you just get 2. You could do this in any software as well. Anything is that I'm just shifting these by like 1 semitone. Let me reset this real quick. So 1 semitone and then 1 semitone up. So then if I go down, you're getting this wobble, right?
And so you're doing that with sine waves. Is that specifically because you want? Is this
you
pulse
want it to be
effect?
As clean as possible.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't want a lot of harmonic content to.
Yeah. And then so now, for example, now all you really have to do is just run this through a distortion.
I hope people are listening in headphones or speakers, because if your laptop
on the phone, sorry, you will in a second. So find which one you like the best.
So
let's
that's
try
just
with
straight up
global saturate.
distortion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what we can do is we can make just add in a noise oscillator. So noise.
I should mention to people.
then,
so you're doing this in Faceplant, which is a kilohertz
kilohertz
plugin. Cool.
We can do it in Thor in a bit as well.
That'd be cool. But
so now this is with the noise on, and it sounds quite dirty. So if we bring the stereo up to kind of bring it into the stereo field a bit more, and then bring the slope up, because you can change how much of it's white noise, how much of it is brown noise. What we can then do is just filter this. So what we'd want to do then is actually just put in a filter here. So if we just go and get a filter, put that there, put it on high pass, bring off the cutoff here.
Wait, hang on.
Okay, there. We've got the sound basically.
Yeah.
We'll go through it again slowly.
Let's go through it again slowly. Yeah, it is. I guess there's a value to people to seeing just how quickly it can come together. But let's talk people through some of that a little more. But that is, go ahead and play a little bit, because it really did come together through. It's like, I got to say that the noise component of that is like huge. I think a lot of people, maybe people new to sound design, probably overlook noise for far too long. Once you have that, you probably had this moment, right, where you sort of discovered the power of noise, and then once you open that door into its sound design potential, it's like a whole nother level. I can imagine. I mean, do you remember the moment when you were like, "Oh, noise! It's actually quite musical." This noise thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like the whole kind of concept of this is that you're sidechaining the noise to the bass, so that when the bass is in, the noise is out, and vice versa. So if you hear, like, if I go down a few octaves,
oh yeah,
you can hear it like pulsing.
That's
Navi said, doesn't that make your sound out of tune? No, because you are detuning by one either side, so you're ending up on the middle.
Yeah,
so it's still the same. So for example, if I'm holding an E here, and then if I go ahead and just do like and if I get another group and I just put a sine wave, right, that has no detune, and put an output, and then get rid of this one, that's the same note as this, because you're detuning it you're detuning plus and minus, and that's giving you that phase wobble, because you're literally you're getting this kind of offset in the phase. So you're just, one of them is slightly shorter or longer, like by a small margin.
Right. That is, there's also, to some degree, I mean, this is a little bit of a fudge that happens inside your brain, but as frequencies move lower, our brain's ability to intonate it internally and determine pitch, the margin of error gets wider as well. So
sure. Yeah. It's a lot harder to feel if something's flat or sharp when it's lower pitch. And you can even see the difference in the pitch here as well. So for example, you can see here it ends on the 90 degree, and then here it ends a bit earlier, or like it slightly before the 90 degree.
Gotcha. So okay.
Yeah.
So just to kind of walk through some of that stuff. In fact, can we do the process again? But I just kind of want to notate some of the stuff as we go here.
Also, before we do that, I just wanted to show like the benefit of doing this as opposed to, because you could probably do this with like a volume LFO on a thing. You could do a similar effect, but
what do you mean the noise sidechain?
Yeah, like you could ram noise and an oscillator into like a limiter or something, and then ram the oscillator so hard that it's like sidechaining noise out, and then have an LFO on that oscillator to dip it down, so that the noise comes back in when it's not being sidechained, because that's technically what sidechaining is like you can do sidechaining with, is just ramming something into a limiter or a compressor so hard that the other signal gets pushed out. So you could do it like that, but the benefit of doing it like this is that the higher up you go, the faster it gets. So like if I go ahead and just pitch,
of course,
work with the pitch here, so it has that really, really nice like Reese tone, or like,
and that is just baked into that's the physics.
You don't
of it.
have, exactly. It's the physics of the sound. You don't have to go in. You don't have to make an LFO that then has key tracking, like note tracking here, and then map that to the rate, and then fiddle around with the rate, because you can change the rate of how fast it is by changing the detuning. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say is even the dual sub concept. I was thinking, well, if you just did the one sine wave and you just have an LFO kind of modulating the pitch, but and then you'd have to do volume as well. And there's all, so you're right. You're basically, it's like a hack. You're using the hack of sonic physics to automate for you in a way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sure. So yeah, let's go for it, I guess. How do you want me to go from the get-go, like actually just like get rid of everything and then put it back in?
We can. I think people understand the. Well, maybe let's go back to just two sine waves for a second.
Okay. So no distortion.
No distortion.
All right.
Okay, it'll be hard for people to hear first, but so
one sine wave. This is actually a semitone up. So if I'm pressing this, it'll be on the D sharp.
Let's Oh yeah. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna turn you up a little bit. I've got to duck down for us, but
okay.
Yeah, so you've got that down on a C. You said C sharp.
This one is on the negative one. So you're detuning. You've got a step of 2 here. You can go less, so you could like bring the cents down. So I could bring this down to like 50, and then have this one up by 50, and then you'd have a slower wobble. So the slower the smaller the gap between the notes. So if in terms of detune, the slower it's going to be. That's why when you go higher up in pitch, it speeds up. Like that's why it speeds up, because you're shortening that gap between them. Because as you know, when you go up an octave, you're doubling the frequency. So like that's why, for example, if we look over here on spectrum analyzer, right? And you've got this is why spectrum analyzers are done like this in log, because you've got, for example, if you look how fast it increases, right? So on the low frequency here, you've got the subs, right? Everyone knows this. You've got your sub frequencies here. So it goes 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Then it goes by hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and then 1K. Then it goes in thousands, 1,000, 2,000. And, everyone's just kind of used to, I feel like a lot of people are just used to this being like, kind of like, oh, like this is the high mids, but nobody kind of realizes like how much of a gap in frequency these bits are and how quickly it's increasing. Because the amount of information you have in this top range is so much more like kind of spread out than it is down here. That's why you've got so much less room to work with on an analyzer in the low end than it is on the highs. Because in the highs, you're working in factors of 1,000 up here. Whereas here, you're only working in factors of 10. So like there's so much like, you've got, it's the resolution down here is so much more.
That's absolutely true. And I that might be something that people actually don't stop really to consider. I mean, I probably don't consider it as much as you sort of take it for granted, but yeah, even just in basic things like EQ and roll off and stuff, I'll consider, 95 Hertz versus 100 Hertz versus 105 Hertz. I can weigh that option for a long time. Whereas I don't think about, 5,010 versus 5,015. You just
So for example, let's have a little example here, right? So if we've got a bell curve like here and a bell curve down here, right? Let's say here. So here we're only covering like what? Like around 600 hertz, like of a bell curve. Maybe like it's only covering maybe 200 or 300 hertz total, right? But here you're covering what, 3,000 more so, like 4,000 on this bell.
Totally.
So that's why like you got to always kind of factor that in mind as well. It's like the space of what you're working with. In terms of what frequency range you're working with, because you're always in these analyzers. You're always going to have more resolution on the low end than you are on the highs. That's why the highs always look like messier almost as well. Like you've got like a lot of
just in terms of their visual busy. Yeah.
Cool. So that's that. All right. So back to detuning.
Right. Okay. So, but you as a kind of in terms of the way you would approach this, you could go less than a semitone, but for your purposes, semitone works to go plus minus.
Because then you can go like up or down. Like you can then in whatever you're using, you can have like macros and stuff to change the detune and stuff and go more advanced with that. And that's how you change the rate. So you've got the wobbling. That's why like when you go really high, it sounds funny. You got that. You don't really want that.
Right.
Kind of. It's like almost like a horror tone. Like
totally.
And then when you run that through a distortion, you get that kind of character because you're ramming that into that.
Yeah. Now, so the distortion, the thing I wanted people to understand about the distortion is that what you're actually doing with distortion in the way the sound works is you've created these perfect sine waves, but now you're actually you're synthesizing. That's probably the wrong word. Well, it's not the wrong word, but it's confusing. But you're generating harmonics through the distortion. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see here that you're getting these harmonics added on top,
and that's why it becomes easier to hear.
You're getting that warmth. Yeah, you're getting that warmth there. So this is like the range on a bass where you're going to hear that kind of warmth and that power. That's why, if I do this, if I turn off the distortion, any phone users won't be able to hear this.
Hear nothing. Yeah. Right.
But they'll start to be able to hear some kind of buzz.
God knows what YouTube is doing to this on the stream as well.
And then the noise fills in all the rest of that. And the reason why we high pass it is because without the high pass, you're getting, like, if I get rid of the sine waves, that's what you're getting running through the distortion. Not really that pleasant. But then when you start putting the high pass on, so you're cutting all that low, you're rolling off the lows. You could roll it off more. So it depends, how much you want to mix in with that low end to kind of muddy it up. So and then you add the sines back in.
What type of noise are you using? Is that just white noise?
But mixed with, it has a bit of brown in it as well. So you have this the slope here, and that changes from brown all the way to white. So it adds a bit of color into it, Like with white, you're just gonna get like there's the kind of more clean sound. With the brown, you're getting that kind of more mid-range, low-end tone. And then you could even like post EQ this, like you could add in just like a step EQ or something inside, or like
to the noise or to the overall output, you mean?
To the overall output. So you could do something if I do something. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Just to bring some of that more mid-range out. So yeah, that's the kind of concept behind those style of basses, and the whole kind of concept of phase wobbling in this kind of thing is actually used a lot in like drum bass and that kind of bass design. It's just it's a very quick way, or like good way to like get a natural sounding changing rate when you change pitch, because it sounds really, really cool when you do pitch envelopes. So like when it goes.
Right. I think that's so cool that just is like comes along with the territory, that you don't have to think about that with automation. That's really great.
Yeah.
Are you you're just for people's sort of instincts here, you're doing, is that a plus 12 pitch bend range you're doing? So the
I
full
is on plus 12, yeah. So if you go like this, and then also the other thing is that if you put whatever you're using on one on legato or something, you can, and then just change the glide time. So like, let's just put it up to like that. So because you've got the glide, it speeds up as it goes up. That's like the really cool thing.
That is so cool. That is so, I mean, I think these are the kind of things that when you don't know how this stuff is done, when you just listen to this style, let's say you don't make drum and bass and you just are a casual listener, that would be someone like me. Some of this stuff, I'm expecting it to be more, I guess, effort.
Automated.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some automation to it. Like, definitely. Like we can show exactly how much automation is going into that.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, like we showed earlier, the sound here. So we got. So the way that I did this, so this is the patch. So this is the actual patch. Like you can actually grab this in FacePlant. It's in this factory sound bank.
This is a patch you made for the factory sound bank of FacePlant. Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is the patch, and not all I'm doing, but this automation here. This automation is automating the distance between the two oscillators, the detune here, the shift. So like whenever the values change, it's just moving this shift here back and forth. You can see the waves changing here as it goes along.
Oh, okay.
You can see it just changing slightly every time.
So
there's even minor adjustments like as it goes along.
You're shifting. That's
basically the detune, the
detune.
gap between the two oscillators. I'm changing the gap, and that changes the rate of the wobble. So to get it perfectly, like it's a very tedious thing, because like usually when you're doing this bass, you wouldn't like write an entire an entire phrase that this long with like one continuous note, because all these notes are legato, right? They're legato, they're overlapping.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I see.
the annoying thing of doing this was that I had to listen to the entire string every time I wanted to change something at the end here, like on this automation. I had to listen to the entire thing.
It's the old,
which is the downside to something like this, but it's a very cool effect. Like you could do the same, like if you can recreate the kind of wobble with like an LFO and just like pushing it into like a distortion and stuff, you could just automate the rate on the LFO and have it synced.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you're gonna have a slightly different sound than if you do it this way.
I wonder if we could. So the notes that you're doing in that sequencer, that do you write these bass lines as sort of melodic lines? Are you thinking of it like a melody?
Or like I think for this one, yeah, I was like I can't remember what the original song was like. For this one, I'm pretty sure the original was like fairly just like monotone, and it was just like kind of one bass, one note. But then in this section, when I went to the next 16 bars, I wanted to create like a really nice, cool, like I don't know, just like this really dark and like deep atmosphere, but that is also like very aggressive and had the vocal on top, because it was a cool like experience to like do like write a bass line with the vocal on it like this. Like there's no side chaining on right now.
Oh, but I see you're following the following the harmonic structure of the song very much so.
Yeah, very, very much so. Also, Petri said the phase plant VST seems a bit CPU hungry when opening and minimizing, or is that just a stream? That's just the stream. The stream, I think, is a bit laggy when it's opening. On my side, it's completely fine.
Gotcha.
Like I can.
There was some chat up above about this, the similarities to this sort of stuff in the Doom Machine. Who was that? I'm going to scroll up and see if I can find it. Nope. All right, don't see it. Never mind. But so to look, you were saying you've got the you got the notes in the sequencer. They're doing the automation, and then you've got below that you actually have some drawn in automation as well.
Let's see. What was it? Was it? This
one? That's just no. That's the width. That's the. Am I correct? That's. That second lane.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have two macros, one to make it faster, one to make it slower. So what I ended up doing is I just actually made the gap really small between it, so it was a very slow wobble, and then I just made everything faster, because the smaller the gap between the notes, the slower the wobble is, and then the bigger the gap, the faster it is. So instead of having to control two automations, one to make it go slower and one to make it go faster, I decided it was easier just to pitch it all, like to reduce the gap, to make it slow by default, and then make it faster with automation.
Yeah, okay.
That was the easiest way for me to work around that. So that was just some leftover automation there. I actually did at the end here have it go slower with this automation, so it goes like here. Like this automation just kind of slowly went like as it
I gotcha.
Ends. Just small little details. A lot of the other stuff is just like automation with I don't know. I just love automation. I go crazy with it. My tracks are just
right.
Yeah, this is like even small amount, because this is a remix, so a lot of like the melodic stuff and everything is all done for me. So this is a lot less crazy than my original projects are.
Yeah. Now I wonder if you had mentioned, you said that this concept, the concept of two subs and some noise, is something that is not. It's not unique to Faceplant. It's something you said you could maybe do in Thor, or I guess you could do it with subtractors and a combinator too. But I wonder if we could take a look at so people kind of maybe the light bulbs go off in terms of how much this is just a philosophical concept.
Yeah. So if we just get two analog oscillators here, we can go with sine wave.
Okay. So wait, and we'll take it.
Yeah, so I've reset it and I've put two sine waves here. So we've just put two sine waves in Thor. We've opened it up, and we've just gone here.
Right now they're pitched. The same.
So we've just got two analog oscillators, making sure that these are on the sine wave here, and they're at the same pitch. So if I
Yep.
do
So
this.
straight ahead, just sine wave, nothing special.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I want them to sustain because they're dropping right now. So I'm just going to bring the amp envelope decay and sustain up. So like this. And now when I hold it, it's just going to permanently hold it at that
We've
one tone.
officially built an oscilloscope.
There we go. So now what we'll do is, for example, what we can do is we can bring the tune down, I guess, like plus 50, minus 50. And we put the second oscillator through. So now we're getting both oscillators through. I'm going to bring it down so it's not clipping so much. And now you're getting that same wobble.
There you go.
Right.
Yep.
So I need to make sure that these are rooted. Then we'll just get a noise oscillator. It's on white noise. We could put it on some other.
So now,
like,
just so I understand, the tune, the range on the tune knob is it's in cents, right? So you by going to the full maximum and the full minimum, that is +1 and -1 semitone, right?
Yeah, that's 50 cents either side. So it's like you've got a step of 1 instead of 2.
Gotcha.
You could, I guess, you could do it a bit more weirdly by like if I reset this. I guess you could probably bring, I don't know, like you could have the semis up so you'd be off by 6 in the MIDI technically.
Oh,
and then
I
you
see.
Could, like you could push it up by like 1 and down by 1, but then you'd be off by, you'd technically be off by 6 semitones. You could probably fix that by like doing something funky in Reason, like a note echo or something. Or like, yeah, you could
right,
do something like that.
Live transposition.
Yeah. We could do something like that, but yeah, I think it would be better we could just do it with the tune. But having like, I guess like it might be easier in Europa, probably. It just depends on what noise stuff you can do.
Sure.
I'm doing the zooming.
What's that?
Yeah, sorry. Someone asked, is there a new zoom in Reason? But yeah, I'm zooming.
Yeah, we've got dueling zoom. I've got my own zoom going on. You've got your zoom. Yeah, so we're
okay. So I can stop zooming if you're zooming.
No. It's you're fine. It's so far it's been when you zoom, it's like you're zooming on my zoom, which is great.
Okay. So we've got the 2 oscillators going through. You got the wobble. Now if we add in the noise oscillator, we're putting that through, but we need to start driving it, right? So we need to start pushing this up. So what we can do is we can either drive the master volume, we can drive the amp, we could also just run a shaper here. Just find what we like. Or we can then, we could just slightly overdrive it. Or slightly flip it. And go down an octave. Push the gain up a bit.
Now, without A being it,
similar.
Yeah, we're already in the neighborhood of.
And then you could add in, like, for example, like you could go ahead and just get something like Scream, and maybe just find like some tape saturation, just some coloration or something.
Gotcha. And that's doing, I think, in the original Faceplant patch, you're doing there's some limiting and stuff that you're doing as well to kind of tighten up the sound. And
you could add in, like, for example, Audiomatic or something. And then, because this is so slow, like you could do the semitone thing. Like we could just like transpose it like this, and then do like what we're saying, like 1 plus and 1 minus, and that way you got the tune knobs to fine tune the rate. And you could do other things inside Thor as well, or you could do it in the chain. But yeah, there you go. There's a simple, quick Thor one. You could even do a combo. So you could do the sine wave stuff in Europa, and then add in the noise from Thor, and that way you could process the noise to be stereo or something before start ramming it into a limiter. You could color it differently. It's all about having the control on each individual element. For example, like that's the great, like the best way to get like the kind of sound you want out is like being able to control the noise and be able to control the sine waves like sort of like separately. That way you can high pass the noise, you can have it colored differently, this or that, you know.
Right. We have a request to throw a pulverizer on it while we're at it. Should we
For a polarizer,
should we indulge?
sure.
It's like, how many different distortion colorations can we put on? Ooh. The compressor in Pulverizer, I remember when it first came out, Selig, forum member and recent community member, I remember him making these graphs showing that the compression curve in Pulverizer goes into like negative territory in terms of the way it's like when you get that squash going up, you're like you're compressing more than a traditional input threshold on a compressor would. And you can hear it on that one. It's quite a bit. Cool.
Yeah, there you go. That's the whole concept there. And like, you know, obviously, like, there's no rules with things. It's just like ideas of like, you know, kind of concept. Because I feel like once you understand the kind of physics behind stuff like phase and stuff, you can use it to your advantage as like a audio weapon. Like, you know, once you understand how things work, you can actually use it in creative ways. Like, you know, like destructive phase isn't necessarily a bad thing if you're using it right and you're using it in a controlled sense, you know.
Right. Well, it's you know, what I sort of feel coming out of this is I go like, okay, so this is our concept, and this is like, if people are looking for their, you know, what is my music experimentation evening activity going to be, see how many different ways you can make this concept in Reason. And you know, do you use Subtractor to do your signs? Do it with Maelstrom. Do it with a different rack extension or VST.
That's the thing as well, is that every single different synth you use will give a different like result. Because when I do the same bass in, for example, like Serum or something, it sounds completely different to how it does when I usually do it in like Faceplant or in something else. So every single, like, even if you, for example, are just using this one single sound design technique, what plugin you use is going to completely change how it ends up sounding. So like, you can have it sounding unique like every time, even just by using different plugins, just by, you know, using the same technique in those plugins. So that's the fun thing about that. You could use pretty much any plugin to make it sound like that, because every plugin will have a sine wave, every plugin will probably have noise, and you will probably have some way to compress it or just overdrive it, even if it isn't in the plugin. Like, that's
right.
it. And then bam, you've got like the sound kind of thing.
Is there a name for this type of sound? I mean, it's like Hoover bass, but not Hoover.
I don't know. Like, I personally just call it a phase oscillation bass. That's the best kind of descriptive term that I can come up with. I don't know if that's like a known term, but I just call it phase oscillation bass.
Yeah, that's a good term.
Basically what you're doing. It's like, you know, the phase is being shifted. Like, you've got that oscillation that happens when you have two notes out of phase.
Right.
So, yeah.
That is cool. That is a really cool sound. I think, you know, you can watch, there's people, I put a comment up on, it kind of got clipped, but it says, I mainly make ambient and similar stuff, so it's right up my alley with both lush pads and cyberpunky bass. I think a lot of people can find ways for these sounds to work in a lot of different styles they make. Obviously, this is right up your alley with the drum and bass stuff you do, but I think there are other places where this, as a textural sound design concept, can work wonders. And what I really like is it's based off not the most basic, but it's based off a really fundamentally basic concept, which is that slightly detuning things can create a pumping texture.
Because respaces in general are designed on detune. Like, you know, literally just having like a super saw and detuning it, running it through a distortion will give you that kind of classic respace sound. And someone just asked, is it a respace?
Yeah,
you would class this as a respace. It's just like the certain type of style, because, you know, obviously there's a respace is like an umbrella term. Like, you know, it kind of, I guess it kind of like says, like, you know, it's a bass that gets held, like the note gets held and like has that kind of wobbly sound to it, and like, even then you don't have to have it, but it's like moving. Like, that's the kind of best way I guess I could describe a respace, is that it's like a sustained bass that has that kind of moving texture to it, and whether that's in that pumping style, or whether that's you using a like an LFO on a notch filter movement or something, which is like a classic kind of style. It's, you know, play around with that kind of stuff. Obviously, like respaces are very classic in drum and bass and stuff, because you have that kind of rolling sound, and it's very nice to go along with those drums. But you can use it in anything.
Yeah.
Respace in folk music. When,
Perfect. I'm gonna get the banjo back there and start playing with respace. Well, cool. Well, Protostar, listen, I think that's a fantastic thing to have shown people, and I think they're gonna, with all these things, it's like you just get a little something extra to kind of play with this week and try out and see what music comes of it. So I hope people do that and start, see what happens when they start messing around with that. I wanted to, before we let you go, and I will let you go, I thank you for giving us the time that you've given us here. But before we let you go, I wanted to just chit chat with you a little bit about just some of your sort of, I guess, if I can put you on the spot a little bit to kind of shout out your achievements and highlights and some stuff for people to check out if they wanted to hear more stuff of yours.
Shall we stop the screen share? So
you can go and that'll.
Yeah, I can look down a bit more.
Oh, right.
There we go.
So, in terms of, there's a thing you told me about. I think is pretty cool. You just came out. Was it last week?
Like almost 2 weeks ago now.
And this is tell us about this. You just did. This is something of a gaming milestone in a way, right? The Minecraft.
So I got to release an official Minecraft remix from C418. It's technically like the first official remix of anything from Minecraft soundtrack. There have been like he's done his own VIPs, like, on his own, because he retained the master, right? So yeah, that's a kind of a huge thing for me, because obviously Minecraft has been a huge part of my life, and I think a lot of others, like, it's, I think, technically the biggest game in the world. So being able to release an official remix for one of the songs from the soundtrack was absolutely insane. But yeah, that was out a few weeks ago, and I still can't really believe it. But
that's awesome.
It came very organically as well, because I originally did it as a bootleg, like just for those who don't know, a bootleg remix is like, you do a remix with just the original file. It's not like, commissioned or like licensed, like you just do it for fun or whatever. And then I tweeted it out saying I'm going to put it out for free, and then he saw it and liked it, so then I DM'd it to him, and then he was like, wow, this is amazing. And then so we started talking about getting it official, and then it turned out to be official.
So yeah, and that is not your work with game soundtracks. That's not a new thing. I mean, you actually have been doing that for a while. In terms of the stuff you did with Rocket League, was that your first stuff, actually, the Rocket League stuff? In terms of game soundtrack?
Maybe. I think maybe. I've had it. There's a few games. The main ones is obviously Rocket League. I've got 2 songs in Rocket League now. Had one a few years ago, and then recently, 5 months ago, Galaxies was in Rocket League as the launch tune for a few months. So when people booted up the game, it would play, which was really, really cool feeling. I've also had songs in Trials Rising, I think it is, the new Trials game. It's like Trials biking, motorbike stuff. Something in that. And then Aero, which is a really cool like indie game where it's like a rhythm game. Some of the guys that work on that worked on DJ Hero, actually. It's a really cool thing. Something in that, and then a few other things. But yeah, that's not too shy from video game stuff. And I'd love to like actually do like an original soundtrack to something someday. That's like something on the bucket list, like to do something like that. Right.
There's a question that came in here. I popped it up on screen here. What is your main tip for making neuropunk drum and bass? Do you have a main tip?
Do you mean neurofunk? I'm not too familiar with neuropunk, but
that's a good question. It may be neuropunk, or neurofunk.
Maybe I just don't really pay attention to too much on subgenres and stuff. Like I just keep in my own world. But my main tip. That's a hard one. Like I've got a lot of tips like for that. I guess I could just fire off a few good ones. I think the difference with drum and bass and a lot of other things like dubstep is that in drum and bass you have less room because the BPM is a lot higher and the drums are a lot more busy than, for example, in dubstep. Dubstep you have the kick on the one and the snare on the three, so you have like poof, and then in drum and bass you've got the obviously like the poof, and then you have all the breakbeats and stuff in between. So you have a lot less room to add basses and sounds in. So with drum and bass, you usually want to limit yourself to like either having busy drums and then a simple bass line and then maybe like a top line, like a melody or something.
Right.
Or you could go with way simpler drums. So like just like a more like kind of rocky rhythm where you've just got hats going like kind of like that, and not much like breakbeat on it. So like not much shuffling going on. And then you can go crazier with the bass lines and then maybe have like a lead on top or something. It's all about limiting yourself to maybe like two kind of main elements that you want the listeners to focus on at the same time. I guess that kind of works with a lot of music, but especially for drum and bass, you want to kind of not go too crazy with too many like complex layers.
Gotcha.
But if you do, it's all about kind of being very deliberate with what you're putting where and like kind of stripping things back and being very, very precise with that. Another thing, I guess, is the drums. So a lot of the time people will get the drums like it's kind of hard to say wrong because there's no rules in music.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to go for drum and bass style, like generally long sounding kicks and snares, like dubstep snares and dubstep kicks won't really work that well because you're going to have to, because they're happening so often, you're going to have the tails like bleeding so much into all of your sounds that it's just going to be like very dominant. Whereas a lot of the time, even now, like even with like more minimal styles, you'll have even just like a click or something like as a like old finger click. I've heard a lot of the time like as the snare and stuff. But it's all about that kind of short, snappy style. You can obviously create your own style when it comes to like doing that kind of stuff. But I think it's all about controlling those tails, and that's why that sidechaining method that I talked about earlier, that I said I'll drop in the Discord if people want it. After,
yeah, that would be awesome.
Straight away after the stream, I'll drop it in my production channel on there. If Stefan can drop the link, I guess when it comes around to it. Yeah, I'll be dropping that sidechain thing in there. So that's why I like that kind of sidechain method.
Right. Now, there's another question that came up. We'll fire off maybe a few of these at you before we end it for today.
I'm down to.
How much do you use original audio in your Area Math remix, and how much was reconstructed MIDI?
So the whole track was basically underlaid, and then I added like I redid the whole MIDI on top with like a new instrument. And like I mixed it in. I didn't take out the original audio, like I left it in because it gave it obviously the original sound, and then layered in a lot of stuff like, you know, granular effects and like obviously my own synths and stuff. Pretty much everything you hear like from start to finish, the only part that's unaffected or not recreated or added and layered on top is the outro of the song when it goes into the last final bit. That's the only bit that I left raw. As the original. Everything else, like all the parts when like leads coming in on top and stuff, is all like new synth work and stuff. Gotcha.
Now, Stefan put out some questions to the Instagram audience before the stream, and what they came back with was largely, I don't know if they're the best questions you'll get or the worst questions you'll get. They include things like, if you could fill a bathtub with cereal, what kind would it be and why?
It would be like, I have a favorite cereal right now. It's like I don't know what the type is called. It's like the crunch cereal, like honey nut clusters / like it's like called like farm crunch or something. I don't know. It's very like kind of clustered cereal with like with strawberries and stuff in it.
Gotcha.
Because it's delicious. Like,
you know, in 2012 I was over in the UK. During the time, it was a very controversial moment. Special K changed their recipe, and they didn't tell anyone. It was just one day. Special K it was different, and everybody freaked out about it. And I remember it being sort of it was the end of an era where it's like people that were like daily Special K people suddenly were like, now I got to find a new cereal. You ruined the most, and it's not like Special K is an amazing cereal. It's a really boring cornflake kind of thing. But anyway. Apparently it made an impression on me. 2012. It's like people go, I remember where I was when Kennedy was shot, and I remember where I was when they changed Special K.
Okay.
In the UK only, apparently. Let me see if there's anything else from the Instagram. Let's see. Any tips on modifying drum sounds? That's actually a useful one.
Oh yeah. I'm all about transient shaping. So personally, I use. I could even just like quickly show, I guess, real quick, like an example. But I don't know if that would be too.
If it's easy to do, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. All right. So let's share screen. All right. So for drum stuff, generally what I'll do is if I, for example, let's have a look at this kick. So I already got some processing up on here. So this is the raw kick.
Oh wait, you know what? Hang on. Do we need to restart the audio session to me?
No, it should be the same link.
I don't hear. Oh, now I hear.
Yeah, I just wasn't playing it.
Oh, right. Okay.
This is the raw kick, and then with the processing on, it's just a lot tighter. So what I'm doing here.
Wait, can you play it again with it off and with it on again?
Okay, sure. It's a very slight difference that you're not gonna necessarily hear unless you're really dialed in, and it's a lot. It's a mix thing. It's more in the mix. So
yeah.
If we bypass it. And it's also on the low end mainly as well.
Yeah,
so that's why it's going to be hard. If we show in the mix here, if I try baby this, it's going to be a very slight difference, but it's just that transient pops out a lot more for me.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm just compressing it and transient shaping it. So all I'll do is I'll bring the sustain usually down on transient shaping. I don't know if I did it on this one. I don't think I did it much, but the compression is a big thing. So for example, if I get rid of this processing real quick, you could use pretty much any transient shaper. I just like using multi-band transient shaping a lot. So if I just go ahead and do this, and disperser is great as well, yeah, by Kilohertz. They're fantastic, the rack extension. So if I get a compressor, actually I'll just do compression after transient shaping. So let's get this transient shaper, and we have a listen to this kick. I split the bands up to lows, mids, and highs. I'll get the low, and then usually if the kick isn't really thumping enough or it's a bit too long, I'll bring the sustain down, and that will bring the length of it down a bit and how much is sustaining, and then bring up the transient. So if you A-B that, obviously it's clipping a tiny bit on this, but it'll be fine after we get a limiter and stuff.
Not sure we're actually hearing it.
What, the difference?
No, the kick at all right now. For whatever.
Oh, you're not?
Although I feel like I heard a little bit, but maybe I'm just hearing headphone bleed.
Are you on the link?
Yeah.
On the link?
Yeah. I was hearing it before, but then just now, the last thing you did.
Oh, I'm logged out apparently. Okay. It should be the same one. Let's see. Can you hear that now?
Nope.
Okay, I'll give you the link then.
Okay. Oh, wait, I hear it. I hear it now.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we're just working with that mid-range real quick here. Oh, wrong one, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so we're just like kind of dialing in. Like if I go really extreme, you can hear how it like really makes that click really short, right?
Yep.
And you can see here how it's working. It's like bringing the sustain down, basically. So we're just playing with that kind of length to make it a bit more snappy. And then the same with the highs. You know, you could increase the transient a bit, maybe bring down the sustain a bit here. And then if we go on a compression, what we can do is a similar thing. Is so we can split the lows, mids, and highs, and then just really ram that compression just to get that transient, like that, and then mix it in dry wet. And that way you're going to get that extra bit of thump on the start of your kick. Same with the mids. And then you want to play with like the attack and the tack here. Usually as well. Depends on the drums you're doing. 20 to 30 works well for drum and bass because it's just so quick.
Milliseconds or?
Milliseconds, yeah. So if you go more, you're going to get more click coming in, obviously. But 20 should be fine here for what we're doing. And then the highs again. So we're just upping that kind of transient information a bit here. So now if we bypass before and after. So this is without.
Yeah, okay.
It sounds a lot tighter now. It's a lot tighter and it has a bit more of a punch on the front. And with
This
the
is a perfect
disperser-
example of that 2% thing that I was talking
Yeah.
about with you, where it's like
Mhm.
it doesn't sound bad to start. It's not wrong.
No. That's all about sample choice as well. You gotta choose the right samples.
Yeah.
Because if you're not synthesizing your own, that is. But I've got tutorials up on my YouTube channel actually of synthesizing drums. If you guys want to do that, look into that. Synthesizing drums in Reason. But yeah, so here's with the disperser. Disperser is a phase. It basically messes with the phase before and after. It's an all-pass filter. I don't know the nitty-gritty of how disperser works, get secret sauce kind of stuff, but it's very cool. Basically what it will do is if you have like a kick drum and it all hits at one time, so it's just like boof, like all at once, what disperser will do is it will offset the low end so that it goes like boof, boof, like it will like kind of zoop it down. If we go to the amount and really crazy to put it around like, you know, the sub range, you can hear it going like a laser, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like very housey almost. But if we dial it down, so now it's like very gentle. The pinch is up a bit here because the pinch just kind of gives you that resonance.
Yep.
So now we've got like a kick that has a bit more kind of vroom to it. If I bypass it.
Yeah. Okay.
Very flat kick.
Very flat. Yeah.
And
wow.
with it on,
wow.
you're getting that kind of vroom sound.
That is, you know, it's always these ever elusive adjectives we use to describe music,
Yeah,
but the body to that, it brings out the body quite a bit.
Yeah. So it's offsetting, it's shifting that phase of the low end, so it happens a bit later almost, and you're getting that kind of traveling sound almost like you would in like an actual kick drum, but you're emphasizing it a bit more. But yeah, that's my tips for like processing drums, I guess.
That is really cool. That's fantastic.
So it's all about also just finding the right amount to do things. So like a lot of the time, if I don't feel like a sample needs that much like work on it, I won't process it that much. Like sometimes I'll just like get a sample and like it and then just put it in and that's it. And then maybe just like, you know, it's all about volume as well. Volume sliders are king, you know, gain staging and everything like that. I could probably do a decent mix down if you gave me a volume control. And like, you know, basic EQ and then maybe some compression. I could probably do like a somewhat decent mix down with just those three tools. Maybe a high pass as well, but that would be included in the EQ.
Right. So you mentioned that you mentioned your YouTube channel, and I wonder if we could just kind of direct people to what is the best way if they wanted to see more of your stuff. Discord, obviously, we're gonna link. Stefan, I think, is gonna make sure that we get people linked to you. We've mentioned it in the chat, but we'll put it in the YouTube description and elsewhere. But you've obviously got a healthy YouTube channel that's got finished mixes on it, but also
I've got a bunch of tutorials up on the YouTubes. I don't have like a schedule for like uploading stuff. It's generally like when I feel like recording something, or if like a company like you guys or Kilohertz or something approaches me and like is like, hey, do you want to work on some tutorials with us or for us? And I'm like, yeah. Sure, because generally I'm quite busy like spending all my music time doing like production stuff and like finishing songs and being on schedule, because I generally release like one song a month, so I have to usually keep on top of that. But there's a lot of good stuff. A lot of the tutorials in there are quite old, but this year I've put up a few really cool in-depth tutorials, some that are more basic than others and some that are more advanced. So especially if you want to like get into making drum and bass, or like even just like kind of looking into how someone else makes drum and bass, or even just synthesis of drums and stuff, you can have a look at those tutorials. It's all in Reason.
Cool.
I do use VSTs in some of them, but yeah, it's all within the Reason environment.
Excellent. There was a comment from Tage Vidsel, says disperser, try it on 303s, which I could imagine that's, you know, Tage is an acid house producer, so
yeah.
that stuff, well, I'm sure does wonders.
Yeah.
Well, listen, okay, so now I'm gonna put out a request to you. As we send ourselves out today, I'd like you to provide the outro music if you could. Could you cue up your track and
sure,
do a little playback, and then I'll duck the audio and we'll say goodbye to people here.
Sure. Let me remove the.
Yeah, we've messed up
processing.
your song. we've made all these changes and stuff. Absolutely. As we do,
That should be good, right?
I'm checking in with the comments here.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go. Okay. Perfect. Now I'm going to just abduct the audio a little bit. And I'm going to switch over to my cam and I'm going to say goodbye to people here. Guys, okay, first of all, as always, massive thanks to Protostar for spending the day with us here. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. You know, the basics of what we did today, what I love about it is that it's so adaptable. You can sort of take the concepts and apply it to any synths. And I think you should and could. You know, what Protostar said was, you know, try different oscillators, try different noise, maybe do stereo noise. I mean, there's a lot of things you can start playing around with using that basic concept of really a 3-ingredient sound: 2 oscillators, detuned, and a noise generator. So cool, let's play with that. Let's do that. I'm going to do that this week. I hope you guys do too. And I'll see you back here next week. We're going to have another guest next week. We're putting the finishing touches on that, so we'll announce it this week. Stefan will announce it over our social channels. And in the meantime, go check out Protostar. Check out the Discord stuff. Check out his YouTube channel. And make some great music, guys. We'll see you next week here on the Reason live stream. I hope you have a great week. See you soon.